The Wall Street Journal writer Robert Sutton wrote an article recently called The Biggest Mistakes Bosses Make When Making Decisions. Does Dr. Z agree with it? What are the biggest mistakes that I've ever made while acting as a boss? And am I wearing pants while recording this podcast?
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrivetime Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Thrive Nation, welcome back to another exciting edition of the Thrivetime Show on your radio and podcast download. And Dr. Z, on today's show, I'm excited to have you break down some editorial from the Wall Street Journal. Does that sound fair?
Actually, it does. I love the Wall Street Journal. It's one of the 2 newspapers I try to read every morning.
What is the other newspaper you try to read every
The Tulsa
morning?
World.
Okay, so Tulsa
I
World,
think could
Wall
be
Street Journal.
further apart in their editorial bent on things, but it's good. You know, it's local, and then the national, my favorite national one. So,
Well, this just in.
just in.
The Wall Street Journal, there's an article that came out here. Well, I guess this just not. This came in a while ago. This just in a while ago. October 30th, 2018. The article is called, the article's titled, The Biggest Mistakes Bosses Make When Making Decisions. And first off, I love editorials in the Wall Street Journal because they're usually written by somebody who has a grasp of how business works. However, typically the person writing said articles does not typically employ an army of people. Therefore, you get a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking. You know what I mean? A little bit of,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I'm going to write an opinion, which is what this is, an editorial, about the way bosses do things. And I'm not saying you're going to agree or disagree with this take, but I'm going to go ahead and read to you the biggest mistakes that this particular author believes that bosses make when making decisions.
Well, now, before you start,
Yes. Yes.
I want to ask you a question.
Robert L. Sutton. Okay.
No, I want to ask you a question. What were a couple of the biggest mistakes you made back when you transitioned to that, your own boss, your own, an army of one to an army of, you've got to what, 40, 50, 100? How many DJs did you have?
Well, at the peak, we would do 80 weddings on a weekend, which would mean that we would have 40 sets of equipment going out.
Okay.
So you had to have a stable, about 50 employees.
Okay,
For
there
that
you go.
particular business.
So what are some of the biggest mistakes you made as a boss?
Okay. Well, one that I made, and it really, really was a bad thing, is promoting people to a level of incompetence.
Oh, that's
And-
a tough one.
Now, I had never heard the phrase promoting people to the level of their incompetence until you named it and
Peter principle.
classified it. But can you explain what the Peter principle is, where this comes from?
Well, where it comes from is this: you say you hire, so you hire a DJ. The guy's he's an outgoing personality. He's kind of a cool dude. He's kind of hip. He rates well on being a DJ for weddings. And then you think, you know what, this guy's got that thing. Now I'm going to put him over in charge of booking weddings and over in charge of about half my guys. So this way I can only work half as hard, right? I'm going to make him a manager.
Yep.
And I'm going to make him in charge of booking his 20 guys for the weekend. And then you look up 30 days later, and there's nothing booked, and the guys are just having one big margarita party in your backyard for a month and a half.
The second mistake that I made that was huge was trying to be a life coach. And you said, Clay, unless you're a life coach, I'll never forget this. You said, Clay, unless you're a life coach, you shouldn't life coach people. Can you please explain? I mean, I got this wrong. Can you explain what this means, or how you can tell when a business owner is trying to be a life coach?
Well, this is going to sound mean. And we're right off, right bang out of the back. Out of the blocks. I'm coming in hot. And mean. What that means is that I have a saying. It's kind of one of my core beliefs. And if somebody wants to call in and challenge me on this and debate it, I'll be more than happy to. And this belief is people change
Seldom.
And what that means is that you typically, whenever you meet someone, you're around someone, they're working for you, their work ethic, their morals, their inner core values, they're not going to change. I mean, that's who that person is. I mean, you're not meeting them when they're 5 years old. You're meeting them when they're 25, 35, 45 years old, and they're pretty much set in their ways. People change seldom.
So let me put a little bit of a narrative or examples on those first two big mistakes I made. I had people on my team. I'll never forget. I had one particular person who was really outstanding as a disc jockey and very outstanding as a salesperson and phenomenal in the warehouse repairing equipment. So my thought process was, you know what? I'm going to put them in charge of the sales team.
Sure, that's a common mistake or a common thing people do.
There was warning signs, though, that I saw.
Oh, here we go.
They always would do just the minimum standard.
Okay.
But they never missed that standard. You know what I mean? If I said we have to do $10,000 a week of sales, they'd always do $10,000.
Right.
If I said you need to be at work at 8, they're there at 8. But they never went over and above.
Right.
And so I went on my first cruise with my wife. We went to the Caribbean cruise. We went on we went on Norwegian cruise lines for 7 days. And I remember reading John Maxwell's book, who by the way will be a guest in December. John Maxwell, the author of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
That's just incredible.
Reading that book. I read the book. I come back because we got back from our cruise a little bit early, and I thought I'll just drive all night to get back and surprise the guys. I bought them little gifts and stuff, and I am not exaggerating. When I got back to the office at 91st and Lynn Lane,
this is going to be good.
There was not a single salesperson in the building.
No, of course not.
During the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So I called the guy. Boop, 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 boop. Hey, where's everybody? He said, well, because everybody hit their goals, I took them on a picnic. These are adult men in their 30s. I'm like,
who doesn't love a picnic, though?
You took the guys out to a picnic. He goes, well, you said you wanted to get 20,000 of sales. I'm like, yeah, but that's just to maintain
order
$1 million.
Pizza. Feed them, but just order in pizza. Keep them on the
He straight up took the team on a picnic. And I said, well, okay, what other things have you decreed while I've been gone? He gave people all the vacation time they wanted. He made promises that he couldn't, telling people they could have whatever time off they wanted. He let guys have off of weddings they were promised to DJ. It took me at least a month to sort out the jackassery.
And that's that Peter principle. Like I was saying, someone does this job well, so you promote them. And unfortunately, people get promoted in big corporations, even little corporations, to their level of incompetency. In other words, they have the skills to do this job well. In other words, this guy makes glasses really well, so I'll make him lab manager. He then can handle that to some degree, so I make him office manager. And then he handles that well, and all of a sudden make him a regional manager, and it all falls apart. Because he doesn't have the skill sets. He doesn't have the what it takes to do that job. And so many people in corporations just feel like, well, I'm next up. Hey, I did this job well, so I get the next level job, right?
The next thing I did wrong, and I did a lot of things wrong, but I'm glad you asked me here, was paying people too much. I paid people too much.
Give me an example. Seriously, give me an example of that.
If you were a DJ for me,
okay,
and the price tag for the wedding was $600.
That's for the DJ portion of it.
That
right?
would be what the bride would pay us total, $600.
Okay.
And so I had a system in place where I told the DJs you would make 33% of whatever the total gross sales ticket was. So if the DJ event was $600, you're making $200 ish.
$200.
But if you got a favorable review, you got to make up to half. Now these are guys who previously were working like at Foot Locker, making $9 an hour. These are Office Depot guys making $11 an hour. These are Quick Trip entry level people making
good money.
$12 an hour.
I'm not gonna lie, that's good money, buddy.
And these guys are making. They're only DJing 3 nights a week, and these guys are making $900 before tips 3 nights, dude. So after tips, they're working 14 hours. These guys are pulling in like $1,300. $1,200. And then they got a commission on referrals at their shows. And I paid them a 10% gross commission. And after you got your 15th referral, then you got another bonus of $150. The point is,
wow, can I come DJ for you?
Dude, my labor costs were, that's just on the show side. We're not talking about customer service. We're not talking about the sales team. We're not talking about any of those other areas. I was paying a little over 55% of all gross revenue out to labor before you're talking about taxes, insurance, your equipment maintenance, advertising. And see, I ended up making, for a while there, less money than my guys were making. I had DJs making $80,000 a year, and I'm making $50,000.
Listen, if you're listening out there and you're getting ready to start up a business, we know a bunch of you want to, or you just started one, that is so important. You feel like that it sounds good, those numbers sound good, but you really need to run the numbers on it and see what's going to be left over, because you kind of forget, rent and, oh, wait, I got to pay the cable bill. We need internet. The phone lines aren't cheap. I mean, by the time you get nickel and dime with all the things, rent on the building that you have to have, and the phone system you're making payments on because it's so expensive to buy, and all that stuff, I mean, you got to be careful on what you're paying.
You hit a hot button there. My phone system, by the way, was like $20,000. This is back in the day. I mean, now you can use Clarity Voice, and it's like $500 a line one time to set up a line and $30 a month. Back then, dude, it was like to buy a phone system.
Oh my gosh,
you were a baller.
I mean, yeah, you basically donated a kidney. I mean, it was crazy.
I mean, those are like 10 grand systems.
Oh yeah, or more. Plus, with your call center, I would imagine, how many guys do you have on the phone at one time?
I'd put 15.
Yeah,
10 to 15 at all time.
Yeah. So I mean,
and then the camera systems.
Oh my goodness.
Now you can buy it. Didn't it make you crazy? Now you can go buy a system at Lowe's that's better than the one you and I bought in the late 90s or early 2000s.
And we gave just crazy money for it. And now it's like,
Oh, okay. So this is what the author, Robert L. Sutton from the Wall Street Journal, this is what he had to say here. He says, the article is called The Biggest Mistakes Bosses Make When Making Decisions. I'm opening up with my hands here. You can hear the paper.
I love the sound of a newspaper crinkling like that.
Okay, so here we go.
So fun.
This is big mistake number one. He says, telling people they have a voice when they really don't. So do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I tell you what, if you just be a man of your word. If they don't have a voice, don't tell them they have a voice. If they have a voice, then listen to them. I mean, it's almost silly the games we play with people to make them feel good. But then in actuality, it backfires on you down the road. You know what? I have put 87 different things into the opinion box or the advice box, And number one, I don't think he's opened it because I can't get another one in. I got an 88th one I'm trying to jam in there, and it's full of stuff, right? Number one. And number two, they haven't done any of the suggestions I've put in there. So are they not reading them, or they don't care, or which one is it? And then what happens is it's a waste of time. It's a waste of their time trying to come up with suggestions that you're not going to listen to. And it's a waste of your time to sit there and give them time to tell you the suggestion you don't even care about.
This next one is bosses who don't know when to slow down. They're talking about paralysis by analysis. When the boss is just going so fast, he really doesn't make any decisions. He's just going 90 miles an hour, moving, but never making any strategic decisions. Do you agree with that?
I do, and I think that you have to, the definition, I think, or the vision of a great boss is someone that gets the data quickly, thinks about it, and makes a decision relatively quickly. This idea that you're going to sit there and go, you know what, I'm going to think about that, and I'm going to analyze it some more, and I'm going to listen to some more opinions, and I'm going to, you know what, folks, if you wait till you make the perfect move, you'll never make a move. So sometimes it's best to adjust as you go along the decision you make, but at least you're making one and the team's moving forward, and they see their leader, they see their boss as a person of decisiveness. As a person that will listen, if in fact you do want to listen to their input, and you'll have some key people around you that you should. I mean, you should hire people smarter than you. You should hire people that are more clever than you, that are at least better than you in certain areas. Like my accounting team.
Yeah.
Really? I'm going to go in there and turn on QuickBooks. I'll just stare at the screen and go, huh?
Right.
Give me enough time, I can figure it out. But I don't want to. So you hire people that are smarter than you, but they think you have to listen to them. But then you have to make a decision, right, Clay? What was you had to pussyfoot around on a decision, and sometime in your life that just caused trauma, right?
Well, I think that, again, early on with the DJ business, it would be like the DJ would request, he would say, I'm doing a great job. Can I do all the gigs at the Renaissance Hotel? And I would say, as a younger guy, I would say, that sounds like a great idea. I'll circle back to you. But I didn't write it down. And so not only did I not come back to him on it.
Right. Because you forgot it.
Right. And I never did decide. And over time I learned it's better to, if I tell someone I'm going to circle back, I'll say, hey, Monday at 10 o'clock, I'll give you an answer. And I would setting a specific time to answer questions is so important.
And then put it in your schedule.
Right. You got to.
That's the key thing, is putting it in your schedule, because that was when I was a younger man. I did that a lot too, Clay. I would have good intentions, and then it just gets so busy, you get so many things pulling on you. My favorite thing was triple book lunch meetings. That was the best.
Triple book?
The triple book. I didn't do it on purpose, but I'd be at the restaurant and be like, oh. Yeah.
Good to have all the sales reps here at one time. Hopefully it's competitive, guys.
No, hey, you guys, no one's competing against each other. Your contacts, your frames, and your pharmaceuticals. So, okay. Yeah, let's all break bread together, and you guys can arm wrestle over who gets to pay for it.
Now, here are the final two mistakes that the author from the Wall Street Journal, Robert L. Sutton, says that bosses make. Here it says, bosses who treat final decisions as they're anything but Final. They treat a final. They say that's the final decision, and then they change their mind a lot. Do you agree that's a bad thing or a good thing?
I think it's a very bad thing. And I used to work for a man that we would have a final decision, quote unquote, and then somebody could get a hold of him on the golf course, because he was retired, of course, and whisper in his ear, "That's a bad idea. And here's the reason why." And then he'd call up and undo the decision until we finally got off the golf course. Or he got off the golf course, came back in a day or two. We sat down, and I re-explained everything again to him, and he was like, "Oh, well, that's not that big a deal. We need to go forward with that." I'm like, "Okay, yes, sir, we will. Thank you, sir." So I think sometimes you can hear again, it's being a man of your word. If you make a decision, stick by your decision. Now, obviously, of some kind, sometimes you have an epic fail, Clay.
If it's an epic fail, then what you do is you own it. You say, guys, that didn't work.
It was an epic
We're
fail.
reversing course. But people just can't handle the idea of the weak boss. They always have a new idea, a new concept. They make a
new
decision,
direction we're going.
and then they just vacillate, constantly changing. That's not what we're talking about. What this guy's talking about is it's bosses that are making a final decision. They're saying, "This is the final, but I've changed my mind right now." And it's just he's talking about circular bosses. Now this final attribute that he has written about, as relates to bosses making bad decisions, the final one is bosses who use decision-making as a substitute for action. So essentially a boss that's making a lot of decisions, but nothing ever gets delegated, nothing ever gets followed up on. It's like I'm deciding to launch a new marketing strategy, but
Right.
there's no follow-up and it never gets done.
Nothing gets assigned, nothing gets promoted. It doesn't happen. And a good boss not only makes a decision, but he makes sure things happen. One of the things I would add to that, and this is one of the biggest mistakes I have seen, being an employee and employer, being
Optometrist,
an
entrepreneur.
being the boss, and then I was going to say what's the opposite, but just being a regular employee.
Yeah.
Is bosses that don't follow the org chart. In other words, they say, "Okay, Clay, you're my right-hand guy. You're my guy.
You're my dude.
I'm going to give you the title of President of Thrive Nation or
Yes.
President of DJ Connection, whatever. I'm the CEO, I'm the owner, but you're my guy. And I want everything to flow through you because I trust you, Clay. You've got the right stuff to do it. Now, I'm going to give you 2 lieutenants. It's Bill and Bob. And then they're going to have Carl and Clay and Billy and Sandra work underneath them. And here's how we're going to be set up, okay? And then what happens is one of the people 3 or 4 generations below you calls me up one day and says, "Hey, I got to tell you something. I got a great idea," or "This isn't working," or blah, blah, just has my ear and chews on it for a while, right? And then I take that information, open the door to our next executive council meeting,
Right.
and start haranguing you about why this is what's going on. And you're caught unawares, and
It creates mistrust.
it does.
It creates tension.
It does.
Creates frustration. There's nothing good that comes out of that. So next time you want to go talk to somebody who's not underneath you or directly above you on the org chart, think again if you are what they call a boss.
Absolutely, because what'll happen is that whether you're in middle management or upper management or wherever you are in the flow of things, there is an organizational chart. If you don't know it, shame on you, and go find that out. That should be step 1, day 1 of working there. Like, who's my boss? Who I'm the boss over. I mean, that's just that they're like, "Oh no, you're a janitor. You're over nobody, and everybody's your boss." Okay, just checking. So anyway, you have to know that, and then you have to use it. Knowing it's one thing, and then using it properly is another. So in other words, if I have one of my hourly employees pop into my office and do the old, "Got a minute?" And I'm going to say, "Is this anything to do with work?" I say, "Yes." "Well, have you talked to your supervisor first?" "No." "Well, then I'm available, but if it's a problem or something going on, you need to probably talk to your supervisor first. And then that'll go through the right chain of commands. I'm not going to let you jump 3 levels of individuals to get to me, because that's not the way a healthy organization works.
There are many big mistakes that bosses can make, but perhaps the biggest one that I could possibly think of is failing to educate yourself on an ongoing basis. It's failing to improve. If you're a boss, You are the biggest limiting membrane of that organization, and it's up to you to always be growing and to be getting better each and every year. And I can think of no better way than to do that than to book your tickets for our next in-person Thrivetime show
nice segue.
workshop. It's going to be December 7th and 8th. It's going to be a packed house. Ken Schmidt, the guy who led the turnaround for Harley-Davidson Motors, he's going to be there. Michael Levine, the PR consultant for Nike, for Prince, for Michael Jackson.
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut. He's going to be there. Dr. Z's going to be there. I'm going to be there, and you're going to be there too because you're booking your tickets right now at thrivetimeshow.com.
How many tickets do we have left?
11.
Oh, my.
11 tickets left right now. Go to thrivetimeshow.com to book your tickets. And Z, we have an interview with Carla Starr coming up here in just a moment, so we have to go. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom! Chup, I'm not sure if I shared this on the podcast, so I want to make sure we sneak this in here on today's broadcast and podcast. Do you know we have only 10 tickets left for our next in-person Thrivetime Show workshop?
That's what I've heard, and I've also heard they're going fast.
They're going. They're going, and we've got approximately 10 days until the workshop, 10 tickets left, and we have got Ken Schmidt, who will be speaking. This is the guy who famously led the turnaround for Harley-Davidson Motors from 1985 to 1999. If you're looking for a marketing and PR expert, that's your guy. Then we have Michael Levine, the public relations expert and branding expert of choice for Nike, for Prince, for Michael Jackson,
Pizza Hut,
President Bush,
President Clinton,
Nancy Kerrigan.
Oh, my gosh.
Charlton Heston. It's going to be awesome. And if you have yet to book your tickets, now is the time. If you're married to somebody and they need to attend this workshop, if you're thinking about an early holiday gift idea for somebody.
Give the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes, I'm serious. So if you go to thrivetimeshow.com today, go up there, get all the details, get all the information. We're going to teach you search engine optimization on steroids. We're going to teach you branding, social media marketing, the millionaire mindset to time management, how to build a scalable and repeatable business process, and how to build time freedom and financial freedom. Chup, why is this conference an absolute must-attend for everybody out there listening?
The cool thing about our conference is that we have an action biased. We're action oriented. So we're not going to speak in vagaries and esoteric ideas.
Right.
We're actually going to give you the moves that you need to go home and implement because implementation is key. And the other cool thing is you're going to meet a lot of our current clients, a lot of return guests to our conferences who've been here before. And we talk about it, but it's like iron sharpens iron. You can learn from each other. You can share war stories. It's just a really cool environment that you're really not going to find anywhere else on the planet.
And as of right now, we have nearly 930 video reviews as of this morning on YouTube. If you just type in Thrivetime Show Reviews, you can find over 930 reviews.
Don't trust us. Go do it.
On iTunes, there's over 1,000 reviews.
That's right.
On Google, I think this morning, John updated me and told me that we had 514 reviews, written, verified reviews from real conference attendees. Thrive Nation, we care about you. We want to help you take your life to the next level. We want to help you create that time and financial freedom. Get your tickets today and learn more about everything you'd ever want to know about the conference simply by going to thrivetimeshow.com today. Now, if you're in a tight spot financially and you want to attend the workshop, or if you're somebody just looking for a good deal, all you got to do is go to thrivetimeshow.com on iTunes, leave us an objective review, take a screenshot of that review, and email us proof that you did it to info@thrivetimeshow.com, and we will send you 2 free tickets to our next in-person workshop. And the only costs that you have at all is it's $37, and that includes the tickets as well, or that includes the food for both days and the workshop workbook. So you get the workbook and you get the food for both days for $37 as opposed to the normal price of $250. My name is Clay Clark. I cannot wait to meet you. We will see you at the Thrivetime Show Workshop. Mark your calendar, December 7th and 8th.